Hi folks, no need to double check your calendars. We are indeed coming at you earlier than normal this week, and that's because we have a whole lot of Roku news to share, and we didn't want to wait until our regular Thursday time slot to give you all the details. So Roku met with Jess and me to go over the company's agenda for spring 2021, and I think it's safe to say the company has some interesting plans in store. So without further ado, let's walk you through the highlights. Roku OS 10. So Roku's latest software is on its way to devices starting this week actually. It's called Roku OS 10. No, not that OS 10. And the company says it's bringing along a bunch of new features, so let's break down some of the key bullet points. One of the headlining new features isn't exactly new per se, though it is coming to more devices within Roku's lineup. We're talking about AirPlay 2 and HomeKit support, and yes, certain 4K capable streamers in the company's lineup already have that feature, but this newest update will bring Apple's AirPlay 2 and HomeKit to HD Roku options. And there we're talking about devices like the Roku Express and certain Roku TV models. Elsewhere, the Live TV channel guide gets more customization options, including the ability to select your favorite channels, omit ones you don't want included, and more. The idea there is to make the guide more personalized and maybe make it easier for you to get to the content you're looking for. Roku's also touting a new instant resume feature that promises faster app reloading times and the ability to return to an app right where you left off instead of, say, starting back at the home screen. Now, this isn't a universal feature just yet, but Roku's saying more than 15 streaming channels currently support the feature, including Fubo, Plex, AT&T TV, FilmRise, and, of course, the Roku channel. Roku TV users will also get something called automatic game console configuration, which reportedly detects when a game console is connected and then adjusts various settings for the best and lowest latency gaming performance. And certain Roku TV models will also have support for more advanced features. That'll sound familiar if you've been seeing our coverage on HDMI 2.1. Here we're talking about things like support for auto low latency mode, variable refresh rate, and more. And again, that's just on certain Roku TV models, just to be clear. And now here's a look at some of the new and updated features Roku is touting in this new OS 10 release. And let us know in the comment section down below if any in particular catch your eye. One that we thought was interesting was HDR10 Plus support, which is one of the more advanced versions of high dynamic range video. And that feature is coming to several devices, including Roku Ultras and the new Express 4K and Express 4K Plus. As for availability, Roku says OS 10 should be rolling out now to select devices, with more receiving the update in the coming weeks. And yes, we plan to have much more on the new software update once we get some hands-on time with Roku OS 10. It'll be interesting to see how the instant resume feature works, for example, and whether or not claims of improved app reloading times hit their mark or not. It looks like there should be plenty to explore, so stay tuned. The Roku Streambar Pro. Roku's latest audio gear might look a little familiar. It goes by the name of Streambar Pro, but the company calls it an evolution of the earlier smart soundbar. And if you're curious how they differ, this newer version includes a Roku voice remote that adds personal shortcut buttons and private listening via some included headphones. The Streambar Pro also gets what the company is calling Virtual Surround, which is a software feature coming along as part of the company's OS 10 update. And yes, the older Roku smart soundbar will also get that Virtual Surround feature as well. So if you're interested in a 2-in-1 streaming device and soundbar, and the recent Streambar isn't quite big enough for you, you can pick up the Streambar Pro starting in mid-May for $179.99. And if you want to see what we thought of the earlier Streambar, you can check out that video at the link in the video description. And yes, we're hoping to get our hands, and I guess our ears, on the Streambar Pro in the near future as well. The Roku Voice Remote Pro. We saw rumors of a new remote control coming from Roku, and this week the company has made it official. The new Roku Voice Remote Pro adds some interesting new capabilities to the company's range of input devices. There's the built-in rechargeable battery that the company says will keep the remote charged for months at a time, and you can recharge that remote via a standard micro USB charger. There's also a new mid-field microphone, so you can issue commands without actually having to hold the remote. And there's also a physical switch on the side to disengage that mic in case you're concerned about more devices in your home listening to you. If you keep that switch enabled, you can use a push-to-talk feature to engage voice features when you want to. On top of all that, there's also features that have been associated with Roku's remotes for some time now, including TV controls, personal shortcuts, and private listening mode. And if all that intrigues you, Roku says the new Voice Remote Pro is compatible with all Roku TV models and audio devices and select streaming players. The new remote is now available for $29.99 via Roku's own site, and the company expects other retailers to start offering the device sometime in May. The Roku Express 4K Plus. So yes, Roku has announced a fair bit of news today, and that does indeed include some new streaming device gear. The way Roku described it to us, 4K TVs are growing more popular with more households adding the ultra high-def sets not just as their primary display, but also as secondary options in bedrooms, offices, etc. So here comes the new Roku Express 4K Plus. Now this option clearly resembles the existing Roku Express, but adds on some significant new capabilities, including, of course, 4K support, as well as support for high dynamic range video, including HDR and HDR10+. On the remote front, you get the company's voice remote with TV controls, which, as you might guess, adds voice input and the ability to control your TV, and that's compared to the simple remote that came with the standard Express model. There's also support for dual-band Wi-Fi as well as wired Ethernet through an onboard micro USB port. Roku says the new Express 4K Plus should be available in mid-May for $39.99. But if you want to add 4K streaming at a lower price and aren't all that interested in a fancier voice remote, Roku will also have a slightly cheaper variant exclusively through Walmart. That version will be called the Roku Express 4K and comes with a basic Roku remote for $35. That lower-end remote is one of those infrared line-of-sight type devices, so you'll need to point it at the Express directly to use it, so just heads up there. That model should be available in the US, Mexico, and Canada in the coming weeks, according to Roku. Wrapping it all up. So there you go, new hardware, updated software, additional features coming to existing hardware via software updates. All in all, it looks like a busy spring season for Roku. And of course, that's all on top of what we've recently seen from the company, and that includes the acquisition of Quibi's original content and the purchase of This Old House's content library. In other words, Roku seems to be pretty aggressive about growing as a company through expanding the Roku channel and its staple of original content, and at the same time, it's still pumping out updates to its long-running hardware line. And yes, we're definitely aiming to get some of the company's new gear in-house so we can see what's new and what's different, and maybe pit some of the new hardware against older options to see how they compare. And the same goes for the company's updated operating system. Now, naturally, we're looking forward to getting a closer look at what the company has in store, but in the meantime, what are your biggest takeaways here? Excited about Roku OS X's newest features? Any of the new hardware pique your interest? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in for this earlier than normal video deep dive. We'll be back next week on our regular schedule, but until then, don't forget to click like on this video and maybe even consider following Cord Cutters News if you haven't done so already. And if you want to learn more about any of the Roku products and announcements we went over in this video, be sure to follow the links included down below in the video description. Those will take you over to our site where you can check out the posts we've written as well. And until next time, my name is Philip Palermo. We'll see you all next week. Take care.